I don't think there was a dry eye in the room on the film set, because there was such heartfelt moments when the family asked questions of the digital versions of their loved ones they'd never been able or felt able to ask in real life. And what the outcome of that was two very powerful unscripted films. So all our campaigns have really tried to look at kind of macro um, challenges that the world is facing. Mental health was a macro trend that is a lot of young people all around the world are facing. Whether you're in Japan, whether you're in France, whether you're in Brazil, um, that young people everywhere are struggling with mental health. So it felt very appropriate at the time, our brief is how do we talk to an audience, a younger audience that doesn't really consider Lenovo, you know, when they're considering technology. So how do we drive consideration amongst a younger audience? So, sort of looking and putting a spotlight on something that really they do care about, and showing how the brand can play a responsible and ethical role, but also, um, providing ways through the charity partners, for young people who can see themselves in those films to seek help as well. So that's really important to leave that legacy. I think, as a parent of, I've got 14-year-old twins, and I see firsthand how people live with dual lives, the kind of real world and then the online worlds as well. And they often feel a lot freer and less judged when they're in their online worlds than when they're in, the real world. And I think there is generally older generations don't quite understand that. They don't quite get these two worlds that they live in, and that can create tension and anxiety in those relationships. And we did primary research to so we had a hunch. We had this kind of hunch of there is a problem out there, these two worlds, and we followed that up with primary research globally across 8 markets. And the research came back and said that 60% of young people wish they could have a difficult conversation with a person that they live with, someone that they're, a loved one, in the way that they do with people online. And then there was another stat that kind of really reinforced it. It was the 49% said they only felt comfortable expressing themselves in an online world, in their online space, and that did lead to kind of mental health issues like anxiety, like loneliness, and isolation. So it's that kind of gave us the question of how could we bridge this kind of divide? And if you think about Lenovo as a company, their brand's mission is technology for all, and they want to be seen as a responsible brand within the AI space. So that kind of gave us the jump off of kind of how could we explore how technology could bring together these two generations in an epic but simple way, to have this simple, something as simple as a conversation, but done in such an epic way that had never been done before. We worked with an amazing director, Ishmael, who his style of filmmaking, doing it in a very organic way, a very kind of unscripted way, lent itself to this project. We actually what we needed in order to build the avatar, we needed participants who had such a rich digital footprint, because we needed that data from their online world, but also people that were emotionally ready for something like this, that had never, arguably, this was something that was pretty bold. We know it had never been done at the time before. So we needed someone who felt comfortable with that. And we actually spent 2 months. We had 1,000, almost 2,000 applicants. and we did a series of kind of interviews. We did there were over 500 videos, and we did 39. We whittled it down to 39 callbacks. We wanted to be very responsible in the way that we did it. So we worked with a psychologist who was used to doing kind of, I suppose, those psychometric assessments of people who go onto reality TV shows like Big Brother and so on, and someone who, was used to kind of understanding the kind of, I suppose, expectations that these people would face in terms of media interviews, in terms of just dealing with the technology and the situation, and whether they were ready for that type of experience, so to speak. When we were creating this, there had been a lot of deep fakes, used a lot of AI that was to some extent very unethical, and also a little bit cheap, and it wasn't really truly doing what it had said that it was doing. And what we wanted to do was to create these fully interactive, real-time, life-size avatars. And the reason for that is that we'd seen a lot of avatars that were kind of head avatars, head and shoulders. We hadn't seen anything that was done on a life-size kind of scale. And I think that ambition to create the life-size scale avatar, we needed to find a tech partner that could create that. And that's why we partnered with the holographic company Kalida, because they had experience working in huge productions, from music videos to places like Las Vegas, and kind of in the entertainment kind of world. In order to bring them to life, we had to combine lots of different types of AI that hadn't been kind of put together in the same way. We'd had, voice, we'd had photogrammatic body scans, photo visual, AI visuals, vocal cloning, sentiment analysis, and large learning models trained on their digital data. So you're combining everything from voice to sentiment, but also within that kind of photo real AI visual, that facial expressions could reflect the emotion that was being spoken. So not only were we trying to, sort of have a real-time conversation, but also to have the technology reflect the facial muscular kind of movements and expressions that kind of accompanied what was being said, and the emotion that was being kind of shared at that time as well. I think there was a lot of, we had some time built in to kind of iron out the bugs and the software updates, because all the while, there were new versions of ChatGPT being launched, so we'd have to go through everything again. So that was one challenge, just the speed at which AI is being kind of updated constantly. Kind of creating something that felt as natural as it could be really did need a human element to train the data, whether that was the speed of voice, the sometimes the dialect as well. We had Jinatsu from Japan, and her avatar started speaking Chinese. And so automatically the learning model had kind of picked up and was picking up certain words and then confusing them. So I think we were trying to iron out, because we had one day of filming, and so we had to shoot this in one go. And so the avatars had to behave in the way that we wanted them to behave and have that interaction, because obviously we'd introduced the avatars to the protagonists, uh, our participants, but we hadn't kind of divulged as much detail to their loved ones. The loved ones knew they were coming to a film shoot, but didn't know exactly what was going to happen, because what we wanted is that emotional tension. One, when that first meeting between the avatar of the online persona met with that person's loved one, and to really capture that energy, whatever happened. And so it, filming what was a social experiment did come with its challenges, because neither the director or the crew knew what the avatar or the relative, the loved one, would say or do in that moment. That it was really important that the film, the set that we created was had enabled us to tell the story of this meeting in a way using lighting, um that, because what you had was, you had the avatar in one of the kind of boxes, which felt very cold. So how could we create an environment that felt a little bit more human, a little less kind of, tech, sci-fi, and something that felt appropriate for two people having a conversation. So it was really important to do that, and I think we worked with a fantastic set designer, again through Ishmael, the director's recommendation, and we spent a lot of time thinking about um, the color, the warmth, if you like, of the set design that kind of countered what could have been or could have felt very cold, and we did not want it to feel like a sci-fi set. That was kind of something that we wanted to kind of avoid, because it would reinforce all the stereo kind of types of the kind of imagery that you have with this sort of technology. Meet your digital self, the campaign reminded us of the power that brands have when they act with purpose. It's not about purpose campaigns for just purpose campaigns. I think it's acting with purpose. I think it underscored for me the idea of prioritizing inclusivity, authenticity, and mental well-being when you're talking to younger generations. And I suppose that what it showed is that technology, whatever the technology at the time is, I think when it is used with care and creativity, it can do things that we never thought possible.